everybody. How you doing? It is Thursday, and I hope you're doing good and that your world is fine. I know for myself, I was just humming a little bit of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Great album, one of the best. So how is everyone? Raven Wolf, hello, how are you doing? Tomorrow night, got Raven Wolf on. Going to be talking about Mayan astrology. So I think that's going to be really cool. Hello, Material Classified. Good to see you. Sanette, good to see you. Blue Bottle Bunny Farm. I love that. You know, there was Bluebell ice cream when I lived down in Austin, Texas. Yeah, it was cool. Eyes to see. How are ya? Boy, there's just so many here. Miller, good to see you. Is it Trends? Oh, Trends Zado. I know who you are. Well, welcome. Michael as well. Palladians Tarot. How are you? Derek, good to see you. Derek and the Dominoes. Another good band. Eric Clapton. And sadly, as time marches on, as it does for all of us, Eric Clapton can't play anymore. Arthritis has set in so bad that we'll probably never see him again. I didn't know that. Raven Wolf, do you live in Houston? Well, there you go. Who'd have thought? I have both fond memories and memories that I was glad to get out of Houston. So the Montrose area in 1970 and 71 was a magical time. No doubt about it. Those who lived there know what I know, experienced, and yeah, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. Excellent. Nick, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. So, Jessica, I didn't know that as well. And you live here in Colorado, you see? There you go. I love it. So anyway, we're going to get into some really deep stuff. I mean, we're talking taboo stuff, folks. Hi, Shannon. How are you? Good to see ya. Ghost, how are you going? Peace, prosperity, favor. So before we get going any further, I just want to invoke the spirit of wisdom to sit in on this meeting and have your way with the thoughts that will be transmitted. That's an invocation. And I think invoking the spirit of wisdom, I think is probably a pretty safe bet. I don't know. Some would argue that, I guess. I guess in the law of polarity, and I guess in cause and effect, there would be, of course, probably an absolute antithesis to whatever that would be. It's just the way it is. Kind of crazy. So, hey, this is for someone. The question is for you, because apparently you're, I don't know what it is. I just simply write these things down, and I'm, you know how you get better at seeing, or let me just actually say, I don't know if we see it so much, is if we're actually transmuting into the Akashic record, maybe the eternal timeline. I don't believe time is linear. I think time is multidimensional. But anyway, the question that they want to point to you is the universe running out of anything? And you have your answer in that. So, how about some tea? I'm all up for tea. David Ford, how are you doing? I'll try to say hello to everyone I can. Lori, good to see you as well. Night Owl, how are you? Jama, good to see you. And I'm just looking at the rest of them, folks, as we get going here. Very cool. Seven Serpents, how you doing? Ethereal Soul, hello. Gemma Church, good to see you. So everyone, Kelly, good to see you. Yesterday, we talked about the fact that there are so many different life forms. And when we begin to become aware and then become to recognize, things begin to change in your life. They just do. But so many people are not trained properly in how to approach this subject. Most, unfortunately, are held to dogmas that they have picked up along their life path. And regrettably, that becomes established in their core beliefs, their core perceptions, how they begin to traverse reality is based upon those core perceptions and beliefs. And many times when people begin to see what they perceive to be pagan occultism, you can brandish any name on it. It's just a name, no different than any religion is no more than just a name. But anyway, it so often will set our soul in a defense posture because that's what our soul has fed off of, and that is what our soul more accurately reflects. And that is reflected in your daily life. And when you begin to do the, first of all, you have to do the deconstruction. If you don't do that, it's unfortunately, no matter what you try to plaster over those core beliefs, eventually it's going to come through. And so we've talked about this. Jeff Doherty and I've talked about this. Jeff talks about this. I mean, there's a lot of others that, you know, when you go through the deconstruction process, it sucks. Something I can say. At least it did for me. I did not enjoy the process, I got to tell you. And now I'm at a place where the spirit realm that used to talk to me very regularly can trust me again. You know, we're going to talk about how you can really piss off the high-ranking spirits, angels, demons, whatever you want to call them. We're going to get into that more, that were assigned to you. Every soul, spirit transmutation that takes place in the body has a whole host of beings. We get astrology from that. We get so much of our lives from that because it's in fact true. It is it's replete in every culture. You know, everyone talks about a guardian angel. You know, I could go through all the idioms that are out there. But you can, in fact, violate their, you know, I don't know if you want to call it a code. I think culture would be an adequate word to describe it. And with some of them, it can almost take a lifetime for them to believe that you're being serious. Now, for the rest of us, what we find is that we deal in ignorance. And many of these beings just don't deal in ignorance. They will ignore you. They'll stand there and watch what happens, because your lack of understanding is hindering their ability to complete their mission. And sadly, we go through life, so many, never realizing the opportunity that they had. Because here's the point, folks. And this is getting where, I had to kick out about 14 people yesterday. They just, wow, real extreme. And of course, we just wish them the best. But the powers to be do not want you to believe that you are God. It's the only reason why angels, demons, spirits, entities would yield to you. If you're their equal or lesser, then it would be no difference between you and your pet dog, your goldfish, whatever. And the moment that you finally get it, then it begins to change everything in your life. So let's do what I do best. I have put together our talking points today. So here is the copyright disclaimer. We'll let that sit up there. The required length of time for all people to recognize and observe. Okay. So we're going to be talking evoke or invoke. And when we begin to understand, there's a key difference here. So evoke and invoke can be especially confusing to people because they are similar enough. And in certain contexts, their meanings are similar. This is because they both come from the same Latin root word, vocar, which means to voice or to call. However, despite this overlap, there are some important differences. To evoke is a verb which means to call up, produce, or elicit. People often choose this word when something in a book, a song, a painting causes someone to remember something from their past. Now, I just want to stop here because there's many of us, we're masters at this now. It's powerful when you evoke a memory either in yourself or in another person or group. And the reason why it's so charismatic, so addicting, alluring, is that because most often those memories are pleasant ones. So the painting of the beautiful snow-covered mountains evoke memories of Heidi's childhood. That's how you could put that in a sentence. Now, to invoke is also a verb which means to call up or call forth. This is critical. However, invoke usually means to call for help or to call up through prayer. Now, we're not going to do it today, but we're going to get into the anatomy of what a prayer really is. And when you do the dissection of what a prayer really is, you begin to find out the myth is busted. I'll go ahead and give you a little sneak peek of it. Let's say you're praying to how I was taught to pray to God in Jesus' name. So I'm invoking the power of attorney of the Son of God. That's how I was taught by a lawyer who was a Christian. And because God's very legalistic. Anyway, so when you just look and let's say, God, I need a new washing machine. Well, let's stop and think about the absolute millions of things that have to begin to happen in order for that to manifest. And when you do the analysis and you break down the anatomy of how it works, you realize who really is doing the calling up. But I digress. All right. It has the additional meaning of citing something such as a law to justify an argument. You would use it in the sentence, the country was greatly damaged by the tsunami and invoked aid from nations across the world. But I want to get back and just talk a minute. In this part of this legal memorandum here that we are venturing on. So to cite something in a legal term means for you, depending if you are the defendant or the person bringing the charge. So you have to ask the question, well, what am I as a plaintiff charging the defendant on? I have to cite something that is above me. I have to cite something that allows my action to be legal. So you cite law precedent to justify your argument. Now, as it is above, so it is below. As it is below, so it is above. If these beings, these spirit beings, these entities, these interdimensional entities is what I call them, and it's what they truly are. They're not angels. They're not demons. That's just putting a jersey on them. Saying, well, that side's white, that side's black. It's really what you're doing. But anyway, so and we're going to see here very quickly, that if this is in fact law that they have to abide by, the 7 principles, the reason why they bring truth, revelation, why they bring Rhema, which is light, to the Logos, which is the word, is because it ignites your spirit. And the 7 principles apply to all planes. No exemptions. Something to think about. So this is key. You can evoke can mean to produce a memory or feeling or to elicit or to pull out. This is why in your life, when you've met master manipulators, those who can manipulate, it's easy for you to say, to manipulate your feelings, your emotions. What they're really doing is casting spells, and the way they cast the spell is by evoking the memory that you give them. And memories are powerful. And look at that. To elicit or to pull out. To invoke can also mean to call forth. Now, this is important. To call forth, to call those things that be not as though they are. That's faith. We know that as magicians, you're doing the same thing. In fact, you don't really even have to be a magician. In today's world, we as a species have the unique ability to call forth things, whether they be good, whether they be evil. However, rather than use invoke to mean to call forth a memory, people use it when they call or plead for help. Now, virtually every religion has been built upon that perception right there. Every one of them. Because you would say, well, I need help. Why else would I invoke an angel, a spirit, an entity? I don't know. What about wisdom? I contend that if every person would ask for wisdom above riches, above money, above fame, popularity, anything and everything, even healing, ask, invoke wisdom, you'll never have to ask for another thing ever again. Think about it. Now, these are must points that in our discussion has to be understood. These spirit beings listen to your word of power, be it for you or against you. Did you catch that? They listen to your word of power. Every word you speak, you're speaking with power. Some words are more powerful. Some are less powerless. Very important on this point. They do not play games. They don't have time for it. They are, in a sense, immortal. They know you are finite in this temporal, corporeal realm. You can anger them. And truth be known, many of you have. Many of these beings, because of the hierarchy of which they are a part of, emotion is a human term of an expression of a thought. So when I say that many are already angry, what I mean by that, in which you'll see replete in virtually every religion, every study that you'll do on this subject, that many of these beings seem to be in a perpetual state of consciousness of being adverse to humankind. And you're going to see here in a minute why. Now, I can tell you, because I've talked to them, when I was doing this, it's like they're almost sitting around. They are. They want you to know they know you. They expect you to know them as well. I mean, think about it. How many friends would you have if all you ever did was just ask, take, and never get to know the person? That's not a friend. There's no reason in any plane of existence, of any sentient intelligence that would want to be associated with you. You know, it's like the phone call you get and you see, oh, it's Joan. Oh, shit. Excuse me. I mean, how many people have thought about you because you do it yourself to them? These beings watch you. I mean, give yourself a good hard look, darling, in the mirror. And ask yourself, would you want to be friends with you if you didn't know who the friend was? The benefactor? How many of you are a fan of Dickens? One of my favorite stories, and I still remember it virtually word for, I can close my eyes and actually see the pages. Great Expectations. And Pip. So often, I think many of you are in the role of Pip. You need to get to know your benefactor. Each has a class and a classification. Critical. I mean, if you're calling on an entity and that entity doesn't have the capacity nor the authority nor the capability, because it's not part of its realm, you've made the process much more difficult. Not that it can't be done, just means that that entity has to go out and start kind of, making a deal here. All answer to a higher authority, but not to the all. Now that seems contradictory because in the end, we are all nothing more than in the mind of the cosmos, which is the expression of the all. We have a difficult time fully comprehending the complexity, and I would say this, the simplicity of these other realms. Remember, in the law of hermetics, it teaches that how you become master is that you use higher laws to dominate lower laws. There is nothing that does not have a demigod ruling over it. And all demigods have angels and demons. All have a hierarchy that they answer to. All can be invoked, but only to higher ranking gods. Now, for those of the uninitiated here, everything, and we got to go beyond this physical plane. Remember, when we were, and we'll continue to get back to that, the Kabbalion is that in rhythm, there are different planes. There is a complexity of realms in the plant kingdom, in the animal kingdom. They have demigods, gods, angels, demons. I mean, whatever you want to classify it. It's a complex kingdom. Ask any botanist, they'll tell you. You are a god. That's why angels, demons, entities will, in fact, answer you, yield to you, and in many cases be at command at you. People find this precept to be the hardest one to accept. Yet, in virtually every religion, it's what they say. Their spin on it, their dogma, their theology, which is theory, folks, just with a religious twist of lime. But that's how they say we fell. So in essence, they're saying we're fallen gods. All right, let's just take the pretext fallen. All right. It still says we are gods. Brother and sister, I'm telling you right now, sunshine, when this light gets a hold of you, you will be a changed person. Events, circumstances, thoughts suddenly change. You're no longer dependent on an unseen God. You're no longer dependent on a rational of dogma of thought. What you begin to discover is that if you are truly a sovereign being, you are in fact a God. And that is why the spirit realm is so interested in you, be it good or be it bad, because they listen to the word of your power. And you create, sunshine, the reality within you. I was talking to someone via email. They got it. They said, well, it took me a while, but I figured out the whole Jesus thing. And we chuckled writing back and forth. I'm not going to get into it, but he figured it out. So this is why it is important that you know thy name. Many of you are doing this because I can see it in the chat room. I know a couple of you personally. You invoke, as Anja said, you have to invoke in your name. What other name are you going to? We may all have a name that we have no idea what the name is, but that does not preclude us using the word of power of our name. And in this reality, we use names. Maybe they use something else. So let me get out of here for a second, folks. There we go. And we'll hit that. So I'm back. So when you begin to get that established, when you start dealing in the spiritual realm, you will know your position. Otherwise, you're going to be treated like this redheaded stepchild. And that sucks. So, now for the next part, we're going to have a little fun. We are really going to get into names. You and I are going to discover. Actually, I found Gustav's book in PDF form, which is phenomenal. So before we get going, I want to do a favor for everyone. And I know most of you can afford this. Until you begin to understand these principles of calling name, stop calling yourself names. You got to start treating yourself like who and what you are on the other side. I mean, my contention is, the myth that's out there, you got one that sends you to heaven or hell. You have another one that you have this wild number of virgins, which means that what? You're going to have great sex over there for what? I mean, come on. It's crazy, folks. And why? How could a demon rule over a divine spirit known as God-man? And kiss my white ass. Anyway. Hey, I've told more than a couple of them. Trust me. When you begin to understand, you are a God man, and man is not gendered. It's just merely a class. So here's what many of you need to do until you really get this thing down. This is the best thing I can offer you and maybe other family members, is that until you begin to understand how vitally important your words are, and you begin to get that established with every word you are speaking, this might be the best thing for you to meditate with. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Many times when I see the trolls in, I often say, well, do yourself a favor. You might want to buy some duct tape and also do it with the palm of your hand. So, because virtually 99% of the people I know nullify the very thing that they are needing. Now, need and want are two different things. There's just certain things that you need to be able to exist in this realm. There's a lot of things what we want. So, if you can begin to understand this, then the following becomes real interesting. So let me go over here to start here first. I think that's where I want to go. So I thought what we could do is to start looking at some of the names. This is from the Dictionary of the Gods and Goddesses. And what's so great about this, many of you have been asking, well, which entity do I call upon? Which one do I invoke? Well, you have to understand now where the hierarchy in the position is. They are not up here and you down here. It's just the opposite. You're learning to take your authority. And for many of you, that is a very difficult goal to be achieved here. So you can see, going with A, the sun goddess, Mesopotamian, Babylonian, Akkadian, Western Semitic, Abigail, the desert god, pre-Islamic, Northern Arabian, known for the Polarian desert regions. And you can begin to go through here. And read this as a book. It's kind of like a high school reunion. You're going to go back and check out all who were out there. I mean, there's some good ones. There's some bad ones. Look at this, a Bonsam, malevolent spirit, recognized by tribes on the Gold Coast, traditionally driven away in an annual expulsion ritual by firing guns and shouting loudly, emptying houses of furniture and beating the interiors with sticks. Now, many people laugh at this or smirk. These are sentient beings. When I read these stories, and I've read many of them, absolutely they exist. And remember, many spirits in the hierarchy, and if you are like me, a former Christian, you know, in the book of Ephesians, that wizard Paul listed out the hierarchy for you. Take that which has been given, take the pearls of wisdom given, and add it to your own. So if you understand some of the basics, and we're going to get into more books here while we've got the time, might as well. I like this one, Akan, God of Wine, Mayan, Yucatec, classical Mesoamerican. And you begin to see when I last year, I did a whole, actually it's been almost 2 years, in the Bloodline Invader series in documenting the worship of the snake god or goddess. It works both ways. And it was just amazing to me when I began to see the correlation in so many cultures. You just go, there has to be something to this. These people, if they made it up, the odds that they would have such striking similarities with cultures halfway around the world, it's amazing. And I'm just going to continue just to scroll through here. And as you can see, it's a well done book. Adonis, Lord, origin, Hellenic name adopted predominantly in Phoenician and Syrian cultures based on the old Western Semitic deity. I did a video series called The Ball Theory of Christianity. It's approaching 200,000. Probably either you love it or you hate it. And what amazes me is right from the very get-go, I give the guy who did the work, and it's clearly stated. It's a theory. But boy, you come against some of these people, gods, you going to hell. And as I have my one shirt that says, I'm going to hell in so many different religions. I mean, yeah. And so, yeah, here we go. We move on. I hope you're enjoying this. If you want these, I'll be more than happy to send them to you. Yeah, trust me, you go through these and you begin to do whatever you can do. Now, 418 pages. It's extensive, but I'll care, even if you don't put this to memory, just reading again as a book, the knowledge that you're going to gain. And by osmosis, that's the only way I know how to do it. There is energy. The minute I speak any of these gods' names, I'm invoking them. And so I try to be careful here and not do that. I mean, I can read it in my thought. It's within my realm. But understand, when you speak a name, it's like this. Someone can be speaking your name And what they're doing, they're invoking your presence, your image, your name. And it gets deeper from there. Names are so vitally important, folks. And if you're going to get your legions in line, they'll have more respect for you because you have shown them respect. Respect yourself. Yeah, anyway. Respect yourself. Anyway, so let me see. Here's the other one. I mean, I've just gone into the A's. As you can see, the A's just go on and on. A lot of A's. That's what they say. Give me the A's. And good research. Anyway, all right. So let's go over here. I love this book. This is the dictionary of craft terms. Witchcraft, craft. You know, let me put witchcraft in a different terminology. If you are a painter, you have mastered the craft of painting. If you are a carpenter, you have mastered the art of wood. These are all terms: witchcraft, woodcraft. It's all the same family. Now, if you are a person who really gets into sigils, and I'm doing a lot now in the remote area of searching for my own sigil. It's very interesting. Anyway, this book is so cool. It goes through every term you can imagine that you would need an understanding of the craft. And this is what I call it. I call it the craft of intermingling with the unseen. The IDEs, interdimensional entities. And when you begin to read from our ancestors, the ancestors begin to see favor with you. Part of that favor cleansing ritual, what is it that you call upon when you're looking to which cardinal point? You're calling on your ancestors. Now, I think it would be fair to say that with many of us, our ancestors are saying, I don't know that person. Are you kidding me? No, I don't care what you tell me. We don't want that. We want grandma. We want great grandma, great grandpa. We want those who are saying, that's our champion. I told you the girl had it. Told you the boy was going to make good. That's what you want. You want that choir up there, folks, that when you get a couple of spirits champion your cause, that begins to draw in others because they're wanting to know, well, why are they all excited? And yes, angels, demons, entities, they do have the range of emotions. They're not automatons. And when the group gets bigger and they're cheering you on and they're going, hey, let's get down there and help that dude. Come on, she needs a little help over here. The next thing you know, you have a stadium full rooting for you. Now that draws the attention of the higher ups. And they're going, what's going on here? And then they start getting reports. And when they start cheering you on, well, that's when things become magical. So as you can see in this one, if there is any term that you could possibly question, this is a good one to have. I'm trying to watch my time here. This is another good one. This is the book of ceremonial magic. And this will bring you places most of you have no idea. It begins to teach you what our ancestors knew. It teaches you why the sigils. It teaches you to begin to understand a language. Let me put it to you the way it was told to me. There is a language that can be written that transcends the alphabet of a word. That once the sigil, the image, becomes known to you, it speaks volumes. And this is a great book. It teaches you from all over the world. You begin to have an understanding like very few do. This is out of my library. And you can begin to read the excellent documentation in this book. Very well documented. It's to the sources. And depending on your level of interest to how far you want to take this, sigils are powerful. They're all in the church. They're in every religion. I would say you can't have a religion without a sigil, but you can have a sigil without a religion. The reason why sigils become very important, again, it's getting to know that realm. And you begin to understand how sigils and their true meaning. You can just wait. I just had my door open up by itself. Well, it is windy out there. So anyway, pretty cool stuff, eh? Okay, I'll get out of here. Again, watch us quiet ones. We have a lot of knowledge that we don't share, and we do share the knowledge that that when it comes forth, it's powerful stuff, folks. This is not, I like how Jeff Doherty said it, and I think it's so cool. This is the accelerated class. And if you have problems with this, then I recommend that you go back and, you know, make sure you graduate through the proper steps. But for those of you who, all right, Shane, that really want to know, I'm not screwing with you here. I mean, this is stuff that, and it's not stuff, it's knowledge. When I prayed for knowledge, and I did pray, I did a ceremony for it, my own ceremony. And when I invoked that realm, if you're serious, it will come in like a flood. And you know, I sleep soundly. In fact, I sleep very peacefully. And the point here is the more power that you gain, the more powerful you become, the less you want to be seen. Does that make sense? Because that's where truly the powerful reside. Someone wrote to me, I hope to become, that invisible. And I thought, boy, you have no idea what you're speaking of, because that is the point. As you become more powerful, you really want to become less seen. So, powerful lesson today, eh? I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. So tonight on the Steiger perspective over on the artistfirst.com, I am going to read word for word the CIA document, Project Gateway processes. We're going to see. I can do it on the radio show because I am not hindered by restricted speech. There I have free speech. Here you don't. But that's cool. We can adapt into any environment that we're put into. And the great thing about it is, folks, when you really tap in and the spirit realm knows that you're serious and they see you learning their ways, you'll find out that there is no time or space. You'll find out that if you want to listen, they'll talk. But the thing that I tell people who have experiences with negative entities, you're a god. And they can't violate that. But if you don't acknowledge that, if you don't act like one, if you don't speak the word of your power, you've given them legal authority. In essence, you've given them your power of attorney. It's time to start taking it back, folks. Rescind those agreements. All right. Let me just speak favor over everyone here, that the rest of your day be filled with favor around you, and may favor permeate everything that you do. So, folks, we're going to learn. We're going to go through this. We've got years of material to go. And tomorrow we're going to get into some actual spells themselves and putting that into balance with the law of polarity. Gary Baxter said, well, this is a rather well-behaved chat room. Well, of course it is. This is the enclave of the free thinkers. And y'all monitor it. It's your energy that comes in here. I've told you this before. I've had people look in on this. I've had people that have been on the channel said they've never seen anything like it. They said this is the most enlightened group they've ever seen. These people respect one another. Even when one gets out of line, the others come in, and it's through firmness, but yet gentleness. I said, well, they did it. I didn't. I'm just driving this bus. They got in at the last stop. I don't know. What can I say? I'll tell you what, folks, you got to laugh. The spirits love it when you laugh. Do what I do. I put on music. They really love Brewer and Shipley, Richie Tai, and dance with them. Try to get where you're by yourself and let that music, if you can, play that song. And I'll guarantee you, my friend, the spirits dance. It's like Sting said in his song, When They Dance. The spirits dance with us, folks. They don't want to be around people that are so melancholy. You've got the vampires, the energy suckers that are doing that. There is a whole group of entities that when you invite them to dance, oh man, I mean, you get charged with an energy that is not of this world. And they'll go and tell others. They do. All right, my hour is up here, folks. Be good to yourself. Tomorrow night, we'll see Raven Wolf, and tune in tonight on the Steiger Perspective, and I'll see you again tomorrow at the same time. Be good to yourself, folks. Remember, the way you treat God is reflective of how you treat God. That's yourself. Can't love another God if you don't love you. There you go. All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.